Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Tupper. It is Tuesday, September 19th, and we're going on our weekly little jaunt out here. In case you don't, if you don't live in a rural area or you've never been around agriculture, you might not know this, but if you have lived around it, you surely know this. But those of us who do are just fascinated by the crops, and particularly this time of year. It's my favorite time of year because of the harvest and the different stages that lead up to it and go through it and complete it and all that. And so, and just in the few weeks we've been doing this back here, I've seen the corn really get brown. Ours, I think, comes out in the next, well, surely in the next 2 weeks. Depends on how much our farmers got to get done elsewhere, but beans are getting closer all the time. A number of fields are out. Anyhow, let's talk about the Illinois-South Florida game, at least briefly. Not a big surprise. You know, through 2 games, we saw young Illinois football players really impress us with their potential, their ability. They were able to make plays that helped Illinois win 2 football games. And but at South Florida, against a better team, an older team, a bigger team, a faster team, a team playing on their field, they were frequently physically overmatched and mentally a little overwhelmed, I thought. And you really are reminded that, you know, when you're playing, and they're playing more freshmen every time we turn around. You know, it was 7 in the Western Kentucky game starting. It was 10 the other night. There might be more if Vidarian Lowe gets out there for the Nebraska game. It's just, you know, it's wild. And it doesn't come without some growing pains, and I don't have any problem keeping track of that. I do hear from some fans that are like, oh, it's the same as always. Well, it's not the same as always to me, because the talent level is not the same as always. What they're able to do right now isn't enough. I get that, but I look at Mike Epstein, and I really like where that's going. I look at Lewis Dorsey, and that's an NFL tight end down the road. I'm so glad to see Ricky Smalling get out there and do some things, because we saw that in training camp. And you know, when you rave about somebody in training camp, it's nice when they do it in a game, so people don't think you're insane. And Nate Hobbs and Tony Adams, and you know, Nate Hobbs and Tony Adams are a perfect example. You know, they're really good athletes. I think they're going to be really good corners. And yet right now, you know, you catch them with their back to the quarterback and not turning around and getting called for pass interference or having the ball thrown over them, and you know, and that's the stuff that comes with the inexperience. So anyhow, but the interesting development in that game was the quarterback situation with Chase Crouch going to the bench in the 3rd quarter and Jeff George Jr. emerging. I don't know what's going to happen between now, you know, they're off this weekend, between now and the next game, which is Friday, September 29th against Nebraska. I'm all for getting a longer look at George. My guess is they probably go back to Crouch. But he's got to get his eyes down the field. It just seems like his field of vision is just all around the line of scrimmage, and worrying about the pass rush a little bit, which I don't blame him. The protection hasn't always been great. And looking for dump-off guys, you know, little short flips and Mikey Dudick. And I want somebody who can look down the field and maybe try to make plays. You know, I just don't think you can win with everything that close to the line of scrimmage, and then the defense comes up and it becomes harder to run the ball. So we'll see. I'm going over to practice today. There's very limited availability with players and coaches. In fact, today's the only day this week we won't get to watch practice. We'll get to talk to them after practice and see what they have to say. And you know, you may have heard there's a new quarterback on the roster also, a guy named Pete DeNovo, who played at Central Florida. He's a graduate transfer. Monday was his first practice day. He's eligible immediately. I mean, why take a guy like that? Well, let's say Chase gets hurt and Jeff George is out there being quarterback and he gets knocked out for a series or whatever. You don't want to spend Cam Thomas's red shirt just to put him out there for a short time. You know, he's not going to play a lot this year. and it would be unfair for him to play him at all in that sense. Save that year of eligibility. And now, if something happened, here's an experienced guy, assuming he can play catch-up on the offense and learn enough, that could go out there for a short time. I don't think he'll be asked to do much, if anything. He may never get in a game. But he wants to coach, and he knew Donnie Abraham, who'd been Illinois safeties coach, who'd been at his high school. He knew Jake Hansen, the linebacker, who was going to start and is out for the year with a knee injury. And he got some favorable reports on what's going on at Illinois, and I made contact, obviously, and I think, among other things, told Lovey it'd be awesome to learn from you and try to get going on my coaching career. So he's there. And then next week we'll get zeroed in on Nebraska, and man, Nebraska is a mess. I don't ever remember, I remember Nebraska going through some tumultuous times. Since Tom Osborne retired, they just haven't quite been able to get the head coaching thing right, or at least right by their definition, and that's a proud program. Understandably so. They've won 5 national championships. Heck, they won 3 in the 90s. And I think they won 3 in 4 years. And those people turn out to games religiously, 86,000 to 90,000 in Lincoln, Nebraska. And they expect to see, championship things. And they haven't been getting it. And they went through Frank Solich, and then who was it next? It was Bill Callahan and Bo Pelini, and now Mike Riley. Mike Riley's one of the nicest guys in the world, by the way. Just a wonderful, wonderful guy. But, he's 16-13 since he got there, and they just lost to Northern Illinois. I'll tell you what, if they lose to Rutgers at home this Saturday, oh my, I don't know what we'll see coming into Champaign on the 29th, but they're a mess right now. He's coaching for his job. He's coaching for the athletic director's job. It's just there's a lot going on there. So we'll see how that goes when they get to Champaign on the 29th. Also today, Illinois basketball. I'm going over. I have a 4:30 interview with Michael Finke. Going to sit down with Michael. I think I'll try to post that on our podcast. That will post Friday morning. On our website, herald-review.com, and visit with Michael. Michael clearly has a big role on this First Brad Underwood team. Underwood likes him. He likes bigs who can run and shoot. His conditioning has been terrific. Adam Fletcher told me that Finke's become just a great runner with terrific endurance simply because he's worked at it so hard. And, coaches love those guys that just work, and he's the tallest guy on the team at 6'10". So anxious to sit down with Michael. He's a good dude anyhow, and talk to him about basketball. Check out his hair. Michael's always got something going on, whether it's the man bun or it seems like I saw him recently, and I don't remember what he had working, but it's always kind of fun to check on him with that as well. And then basketball practice starts in a week, in a week and a half, and then we'll get going. Man, that's getting close. So, hey, thanks for coming along for a ride, and appreciate it a lot, and we'll do this again next week. See you later.